to go live YouTube. Yeah, fucking hell.
If I can go live, there it is.
Alright, so my audio is working. Let's call the guy I'm supposed to debate and see if the Discord audio is working.
Yeah, fucking hell. If I can go live, there it is.
Alright, so hang on.
You hear me?
Yeah, hang on. Give me 1 second.
Okay. You're okay with it if I share my screen, right? I have a bit of opening presentation.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Hang on. My XSplit shit's fucking
no rush.
It does not want to cooperate with me during these debates. Hold on. Let me actually restart my XSplit.
It's the other button show camera.
Say that again.
So you're basically not live right now.
I'm starting the live again. Hang on. And then let me try to also capture the Discord.
If the mirror, I guess you can just record a conversation.
This is ironic. The one person that wants to show his camera and XSplit's not cooperating.
I figured if you were going to show it, it would make more sense for me to do it as well, just because it's like sort of equals the way that the audience can kind of interpret our body language. Otherwise, it's very weird to just have someone speaking while someone else is like emoting. At least that's how I see it.
Oh yeah, exactly.
If you don't show it, I'll show it.
So it's I'm just lagging really bad. This is ironic. But
your stream's title, by the way, that sounds to be quite funny. Debating a guy who self-identifies as an animal.
Yeah, isn't that what you do? You say you're an animal. You say you're like some type of.
If you want to get very, in a technical sense, it's correct. But I would never say it.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. I finally got the Discord to show. We're making progress, guys.
All right.
All right. If you turn your camera on, they should be able to see you now.
Are you gonna turn yours on?
Mine's is on in the stream. I can't because XSplit's using the camera.
Listen, and then I'm not showing.
What was that?
I just don't want it to be like one-sided.
Oh no. You can see me on the stream, right? Although I'm lagging like a motherfucker.
I'm not on stream.
What was that?
I'm not on stream. I'm just on Discord. So if you're streaming, I can't see.
Yeah, because like the problem is if I fucking
this is the wrong thing.
If I turn my camera on in Discord, then like I would need to turn the stream off. But shit, what was I about to say? Oh yeah,
let me see my stuff. Even if I take away can you see my stuff now?
Yeah, let me just make sure it's loading on the screen.
Yeah.
Someone's asking if you're a furry. Oh, slow down, Mr. Lewis. We're gonna get into all that. I'm just fixing the technical shit. Don't worry.
I would not say I'm a furry.
I've got plenty of stuff prepared for this guy. All right, fuck it. My camera's just gonna lag because, hey, whatever. Screw it. It's all good. All right,
sure.
So what you just said, right? It feels weird to say because it feels fucking hell. It feels weird to say because something feels off, right? It doesn't feel comfortable calling yourself an animal, a gorilla, a monkey, a doggy, a kitty cat, whatever.
Yes, it does. But we'll also explain why I think that it's important that we, on some level, characterize ourselves as an animal. I would say that specifically, if I were to say what are humans, I would say that we're the rational animal. If you want to give it a label, if you don't want to just say like human or animal. Oh, can you not hear me? Wait, can you not see my screen? Is my PowerPoint not on? Oh.
Give me 1 second, guys. I'm just trying to turn this volume up. Oh, here we go. User volume. Let's turn you up to 200. All right, yeah, I can see your PowerPoint. I take it that means you want to make the first opening argument?
Since you made a video, I think it's reasonable that I get to respond.
Yeah, sure thing.
My idea.
I'll let you
that
go
way
first.
you don't have to argue with what you think I believe. You get to see what I believe. And if we might establish some common ground, and then we might have some differences.
Let me just give you a warning, man. I'm gonna tackle this like how I tackle all my debates. I'm gonna stick strictly to what has been factually proven beyond a reasonable doubt. I'm not gonna be presenting theories or opinions or beliefs or philosophy or any of that opinionated garbage. I'm sticking strictly to what has been factually proven beyond a reasonable doubt. And I'm sure you're aware that the belief that humans are animals is a theory that recently originated over the last couple hundred years. Now, don't confuse this with evolution. Evolution has been proven beyond a reasonable doubt. You feel me? Evolution is an actual natural thing. But the sub-science that says humans are animals, that is a theory and heavily opinionated based on belief. So I just wanted to go ahead and open. Somebody said lower his volume. No, we're gonna let him speak. You feel me? We're gonna let him speak. But yeah. Sorry guys, I don't know, my XSplit's fucking up. I don't know how to get the shit to stop jagging like that. But yeah, so I just wanted to get that out the way before we get into the nitty-gritty.
Sure. So I guess my first question before I present my thing is, I don't think you thought this, but did you think I was saying that we're the same exact thing?
I read your comments. Actually, I'm not sure if you were the original comment that highlighted it, but somebody basically said a kangaroo is not the same as a crocodile is not the same as a gorilla, and a gorilla is not the same as a person. I saw that comment, and they were saying they're all animals, even though they're not the same type of animal. And again, I don't know if that was you or if that was somebody else, but regardless, you responded to that. And essentially, I see why he thinks that way, because his thought process is based off of opinion and what he thinks and what he feels and what he believes. The reason I said that's not how, or whatever I said that basically said that that's wrong, the reason I said that is because, well, first of all, let me just ask you this. This was going to be my opening argument anyways, so let's start off with this. What natural purpose does an animal have?
Reproduce.
Well, obviously.
That would be my main argument. An animal has to keep existing.
Correct. Keep existing to do what? What's their why do they have to be here? What's their natural purpose?
I don't think they have one. I think they just repopulate. Yeah. I don't think that there's like a higher reason for animals to exist. I think they just are. It's like a category, sort of see like, why does a kangaroo exist? It just evolved to be a kangaroo, and then it's there. And then if it meets a female kangaroo and a male kangaroo meet, then there'll be another kangaroo. I think humans have the ability to have higher purpose, but in a sense, we're ruled by our biology in the same way that, like, not to say that we're the same as the kangaroo. We just, I guess. Wait, what was the original question? I lost track.
No. I was asking what's the natural purpose of animals. So I see
I don't know how besides just existing.
Well, and by the way, I turned my camera on Discord instead of XSplit. I'm trying to. This jagging shit is annoying me, so I don't know if that fixed it. I can't even tell. But anyways, am I jagging on your end or is it just the XSplit?
I'm not even seeing you, so don't worry about mine.
Oh, what the fuck? You can't see my camera?
I'm not looking at you. Like I'm not on your screen.
Oh, you're
We're
looking
just
at the
talking.
PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
You're just a voice right now.
Gotcha. All right, so I'm gonna try to refute this politely,
Okay.
but actually, no. I'm gonna take this a different angle because I like to trigger people's brains and kind of let them express why they think the way they do. So,
Wait.
what?
Can I open?
Say that again.
Can I open my session? I know you're gonna ask questions, and I'm more than happy to answer them. But I want you to know what I think first.
Well, I wanted to quickly just refute because you said that animals don't have a natural purpose besides reproducing. So, or that's what you think, right? You didn't really.
That would be my first answer. We can get into it though.
The reason I wanted to refute this before we go further is because, well, you know what an ecosystem is, right?
Yes.
Every animal has a natural purpose, and not just animals, right? Trees, rocks, everything that naturally exists has a purpose in the ecosystem. So much so that if you remove one, it kind of disrupts everything else, right? Imagine what would happen if we took away all the trees. Or let's use something that's less extreme, right? If we take away all the lions, right, because lions are an endangered species anyways, that would affect the ecosystem. So you're not wrong when you say one natural purpose is to reproduce, obviously, because these things need to keep existing or it just disrupts the whole fucking flow of the ecosystem. But the reason that I asked this question and the reason that I wanted it to be the open-end argument on my side is because humans and animals serve different purposes. Animals are born specifically to serve the natural ecosystem. So once you understand that, the question then has to be, what natural purpose do humans serve? And then we can begin to see the difference between an animal and a human. Now, what society has done, and this used to piss me off when I was a kid. I used to say, oh, fuck the rulers of the world, man. These evil little narcissistic bastards. But then as I got older, I began to understand why things are the way they are. But the reason I say it that way is because it's brilliance. The modern human has been bred to be reduced voluntarily. They voluntarily reduce themselves to the state of an animal, so where they're a part of society's ecosystem. You got the rich, the poor, you got the laborers, manufacturers, you got the bosses, you know, the tillers, the whole 9 yards. So it's actually quite genius. All they did was observe nature and just duplicated what they saw in the natural ecosystem and made a society ecosystem. And ironically, but we'll get into all that later. So yeah, that's why I wanted to open up to that, because
I think philosophically you can definitely make an argument that humans are not like animals. And I would completely agree with you. There are some cases where like animals and humans, like animals and the rest
to the state of
humans and the rest of animals are completely different. And especially when it comes to things like the way we think, the societies we create. And there's so many different things that we can observe. But I think that when you say something like that, you're throwing away all of the biomechanical things that tie us to animals. And that's kind of what I'm going to be arguing about.
Oh, don't you worry about that. I definitely wanted to get into the specific genes and DNA differences between animals and humans. Don't you worry about that, man. I just wanted to open up with that first, because before we even talk about the mechanics, we can already begin to see that animals were born with their specific purpose in the natural ecosystem, and humans serve a separate purpose. In fact, it's actually quite hilarious when you think about it, because humans, you know, we're the main causes of the ecosystem getting disrupted, because we'll either try to save an endangered animal, which will cause an overpopulation of that animal, which will cause other animals to go extinct, which will disrupt the ecosystem, or we'll hunt an animal until extinction, and it does the same thing. So humans But that's a major difference, right? Humans.
We're a very weird animal.
Well,
We do a lot of weird things.
Well, humans have free will. That's one of the main things that separates us from animals. Animals, unless they've been introduced,
very unique brains.
Animals, unless they've been introduced to an unnatural situation, such as when a human being takes a lion and keeps it as a pet, right? Animals, for the most part, they're born and they kind of just do whatever their instinct tells them to do in line with their natural ecosystem purpose. Humans, on the other hand, we're different from animals in that we completely control our fate. We completely control what happens to us. We decide what our purpose is going to be. You want to be a laborer forever? You can be a laborer forever. You want to be a boss? You can be, well, to some degree. Not everybody can be a boss, obviously, but you know, you get my point.
Well, literally, it's impossible, right? In terms of like the numbers of people that can be bosses. I think that those are all good points. I would still think that we are ruled to some degree by the same forces that rule animals. So, for instance,
oh yeah, I'll talk about that. I'll talk about that all the time in my videos. You're absolutely right. I said, yeah.
I couldn't hear your response.
I said, yeah, absolutely. I talk about that all the time in my videos, where we all have to understand the natural laws of the universe. But see, most people think those laws don't apply to them, and that's where they, you know, suffer the consequences.
The rules of nature apply to all living things, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I think that there's a lot of those that we see in ourselves that are also ruled on animals. Now, of course, we're able to think about why these things happen and we're able to respond to them. I was going somewhere with this. Is it okay if I begin? Just because I'm not sure you know what I think yet. You might, but I want to sort of explain.
I'm sorry, what was your question? Do I what?
Yes, a lot of things.
Specifically the question that you asked at the end. You asked a specific one and I didn't hear it.
I basically said, can I present?
Yeah, present.
Okay.
The floor is yours, man.
So, thanks, man. I would say that the most accurate way to approach this topic is basically to say that it is technically correct to describe ourselves as like an animal because we follow the kind of through line that a lot of other animals follow. So we could classify ourselves as mammals specifically, and this becomes from our mammillary glands, which female humans have, right? And we can observe these things in, like, for instance, a cow and horse. Now, this doesn't mean that we're the same type of animal. We can just be classified under a subgroup that is then a subgroup of an animal. In a similar way, I would say, I brought up a lot of analogies just to sort of strengthen why this truth is consistent, generally. So a guitar is a type of instrument, but you would always refer to it as a guitar like an animal first because we specificity. Otherwise, you're getting confused with what type of instrument. You might think, if I point at a guitar and I say that's an instrument, you might think, is that a piano or a trumpet? But it's still an instrument as a broad group. This is kind of a way to summarize what I meant as well. That it's incorrect to say that a human is equal to a dog, which is equal to a chimp, which is equal to a gorilla, which is equal to a cow. But all of these animals share certain things, and these similarities are just undeniable and they're impossible to ignore. So I think that
I don't.
Wait, can I keep going?
I don't.
Just to finish.
Oh, I'm sorry. You said you wanted to finish.
Yeah, it's.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
It shouldn't be too long. So I think when you say something like man and woman are different, that's definitely true. But we can't just say that because we also have to say that they have similarities, which is also true. So for instance, like men behaviorally are just very different from women, and this is undeniable, right? We're more aggressive, we're more combative, and then women tend to be more like, I don't know exactly. Okay, it's gonna sound less positive, right? They're less cool, but it's like they're more emotionally responsive.
This is already incorrect. I'm gonna let you finish though, but that's already incorrect. Men aren't more aggressive anymore. Maybe back in the day they were, man, but men nowadays.
Okay, sure.
I literally just before.
I'll agree with you. I'll agree with you. But we still have high testosterone. Generally, there's exceptions.
No, but you're right though. We're both humans. I think that's what you were trying to say. We have differences because we're two different sexes, but human is an umbrella term, and we're both humans. It's kind of like animal is an umbrella term, and your position is that humans are under the umbrella of animals. And my main refute is that human is a completely separate umbrella that is separate from animals entirely.
Different language is the same thing. Yes, it's the same thing. I was just strengthening, adding a different point. This is a more interesting one. Spaceship is a very exceptional type of vehicle. It can go into space. No other thing can go into space. But we still call it a vehicle because it functions in the same way that it still does the same things that other vehicles do. Transports people or things. Even though it's the only type of vehicle that can go into space, we would still say that it's a vehicle in the same way that like a car is a vehicle. And this is kind of the basis of what I think. You have intelligent and non-intelligent animals, and this definition allows us to basically not ignore all the biological comparisons, while also accepting that humans have free will. But they still the description basically encompasses everything, and there's no contradiction. This is yeah. Do you have anything to say so far? Let's let you speak.
I've got a couple of refutes right off the back. So,
Okay.
first of all, I watched this happen in 2008. In 2008, the definition for the word human was defined as a mammal that was not a part of the kingdom of Animala. By 2009, they changed the definition to basically mean humans and animals are the same thing, which is, I think that's the definition you're referencing, the modern definition and not the archaic one. Now, and definitions, this is why when people ask me like which dictionary should they use, because there's a bunch of different dictionaries, I always tell people try to use archaic dictionaries that tell the original meanings of words based on the root words and how words are broken down, because like words.
Really great.
What was that?
Etymology is really important.
Yeah. So the main reason I'm saying it this way is because truth stays the same, definitions do not. That's why for one word, even the word male, right? Even the word husband. The original meaning for the word husband meant tiller of the ground, and interestingly enough, it's the same definition in Japanese, even though on paper those languages aren't related, right? But, in over thousands of years, new definitions were invented. Now husband means somebody that marries or some shit, right? So, truth stays the same, but definitions change all the time. And the main reason I opened up with, what's the natural purpose of an animal and then what's the natural purpose of a human is because when you understand the truthful, natural differences between the two of us, then what a dictionary says doesn't matter because the truth is apparent. When you observe the animal realm and the human realm, yeah, there are similarities, right? The strongest lion rules the jungle and the wisest humans rule humanity, right? There's similarity. Because again, all the ruling class have done was they just build society based off of what they observed in nature. That's where the similarities come from. However, in order for this society to function the way it does, most people have to voluntarily believe that they are the same as an animal and therefore reduce themselves to the state of an animal. The reason I say that, you're probably going to disagree with this, but humans are above animals, right? We control these motherfuckers. Like somebody said in the comments, I'm sorry that I forgot your name, but I started this guy's comment to use in the debate because it was brilliant, right? He was like, people just say we're the apex predators of the animal kingdom, but an apex predator will kill one other animal every couple of days. A human being can wipe out billions of animals in seconds, literally. What do you think the atomic bomb did? Which, funny enough, did you know that there were humans that survived the atomic bomb, and one human being survived both of them? Let's see an animal survive that though, right?
He moved from Hiroshima to Nagasaki, and he got
bombed again.
Yeah,
that's
really unfortunate.
Now his body was permanently fucked. I mean,
sure.
He had a hit on his body, but surprisingly, his face wasn't that busted like you would think, right? But
I haven't seen the picture, but I know that this happened.
He's like too graphic to look up.
Yeah,
you got to squeeze.
I would say that. Do you mind if I respond to that? Because that's a really good point.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think that when we say that they change definitions, this is definitely true, which is why I always like to sort of prove why my definitions make sense. And so far, I don't think that these things have contradicted. So when we say that like we have conscious animals, we're referring to beings that have the body of an animal and then the consciousness of like basically a person, right? Now, consciousness comes from the brain in the same way that like if you were to say high intelligence in another animal.
False. So there's actually a lot of science that goes into this. And people say that I'm anti-science, even though I understand science better than all these people. So consciousness doesn't come from the brain. The human conscious, which allows us to have free will and a bunch of other magnificent things, that doesn't come from the brain. Why do I say this? Because it's been proven that when the brain shuts down, such as when people go through a coma, or when people take a headshot, or when people have a near-death experience, they still have their free will while they're unconscious. How do we know this is true? Okay, when the brain is not functioning during the coma stage or during some type of traumatic head injury, that person can still feel and experience things while they're unconscious, and when they wake up, they'll usually describe it as like some type of fucked up dream, right? So the human conscious is awake even when the brain itself is not. And this has been proven beyond a reasonable doubt. In fact, dreams and whatnot, you experience those mostly from the consciousness. And at first with dream science, scientists originally were trying to locate the root cause of this by studying the brain. But they came to the conclusion that it's not the brain itself that's responsible for what happens inside your consciousness. The consciousness is separate from the human brain itself. Otherwise, animals would naturally have...
When we call something brain dead, we usually refer to something as they can no longer become conscious again, right?
No, that's false. That's what people that don't know what words mean say. And I'm not saying that to be mean, man, because like I use words based on what they actually mean, not what people think it means, right? Brain dead.
We can get into that.
Brain dead simply means the state in which the brain ceases to function, either permanently or temporarily. I use temporary examples because, to my knowledge, there has been nobody that I know of that has permanently had their brain shut off and they wake back up to speak about what happens. To my knowledge, that hasn't happened. I'm not talking about this shit where people quote unquote die for seconds and then they wake. No, I mean, to my knowledge, there hasn't been anybody who's permanently had their brain shut off and then they wake back up to speak about what they feel after they've lost their brain permanently. But there are plenty of cases of people waking up from comas, waking up from being knocked out, waking up from having severe damage done to their brains, and they're still experiencing things while they're asleep. Although asleep would be the incorrect word because sleeping refers to a specific state, but if your brain's not working, that's something separate. But the main reason this is important is because animals have brains. Insects have brains, okay? Some single cell organisms have something that shares the same functions as a brain, even if they don't have a physical brain that's easily visible, right? Yet animals, unless they've been put in an unnatural situation, they don't have free will. They just do whatever their instinct tells them to do. An example of an animal developing some type of free will is if you capture a dog and you put a steak and a cheeseburger in front of the dog and you tell it to pick its favorite. That's an example of an animal having limited free will, in an unnatural capacity. And actually, that's a bad example because I don't even know what a dog's natural habitat is. I don't even think dogs are a natural breed of animal. So that's a bad example. Let me use wolves. Let me use their natural counterparts. Versus in the wild, wolves just hunt whatever is available. A wolf isn't worried about the difference between a hamburger and you shitting me? It's worried about surviving. So, and when you understand that, you then have to. Oh, let me finish. This is the coup de grace. And when you understand that, you then have to ask, okay, why? Why do humans have free will? Why do humans have such dominance over animals? What is the natural reason for this? Why do we have this difference?
Let me answer.
Yeah, if you can, sure.
Well, sure. So basically, my understanding from research and observation, right, is that as humans developed early on, it became very advantageous to have intelligence, and our brains essentially grew to accommodate intelligence. And from intelligence comes the ability to ask, "Why are you doing the things you're doing? How can I do these things better?" And then this became so advantageous that we started making tools. We started using fire. We started deciding these animals we're going to attack, these ones are too dangerous, and then we started making decisions. And at this point, free will just became like a fact of our existence. But I think that this was a slow process, and it's important to that process.
If you're going to make the argument that free will was a natural process of evolution, you would still need to ask, why did only humans develop this and not animals? Why did we naturally develop this difference?
Sure. So I think intelligence is a very selectively useful trait. So to have a hyper-intelligent dog wouldn't be as useful as having a hyper-intelligent primate. We have a very unique adaptation in our thumb that allows us to essentially build tools and maximize use of intelligence. So for instance, we have whales and dolphins in the ocean.
But see, you have to answer why. Why but this is what I'm saying, right? Mm-hmm. Why do humans naturally have an alignment to this type of development as opposed to a dog? Why is it more useful for a human to have this and not a dog? Why do we have this natural difference over a dog? You see my point?
Yeah, sure. So I think generally speaking, dogs put a lot of their evolutionary points, if you want to call them, into speed, into sense, into hearing, into fighting. We put it into like tool use and learning.
But again, you have to answer why. Why is there this drastic natural difference between humans and animals? Why did we naturally develop to dominate and basically choose what we want to do to the ecosystem, while animals are born into the ecosystem and they really don't have much of a choice to change how they develop?
It's a very weird and very unique exception. I think there's a reason why it's so rare. But it happened essentially, lots of random factors. I don't think there's like a specific one thing. I think it has a lot to do with the environment. For instance, we existed in pre-ice age. I think evolution. You'll have to check me up on this because I am a little bit rusty, but I'm pretty sure that it's plains, right? So when you exist in an area that's plains, you have to sort of learn to adapt to that. So humans were not always bipeds. We had a mix of like tree and land. And we essentially adapted to like the kinds of predators and the kinds of like animals that we were faced with. This sort of is a very unique environment. I don't think that you could say that like a dog placed in that environment would evolve to be smart. I think it would probably just become more powerful or like faster. This is why like so many animals, like a rhino is more defensive than like a lion, which is more purely aggressive. There's like a lot of unique ecosystem reasons why certain traits are pushed for.
But see,
But in the
this
case
is
of like
my
early
point.
humans, it was intelligence.
But this is my
Yeah.
points. Why are our origins so drastically different? Why is the human so drastically different from the mammal? And why is the well, humans are mammals, but we're a different type of mammal.
We're a different type of animal.
Well, actually, no. Humans, in the human DNA, we have the genes and cells of virtually all different types of animals. We have mammal genes in our body, we have reptilian genes in our body, we have amphibious genes in our body, we got bird genes in our body. This is one of the major differences. You know, we're not animals because we're composed of all the different animals to dominate over them. You know, and I wanted to get into that later on. But see, the question you have to ask is
If
why?
a human has that DNA, so would a chimpanzee, right? Like,
No.
we're so similar
No. If
DNA wise, then
no.
they would have that.
No.
Yeah.
If you chop off a
Would that?
chimpanzee's, no, I'm about to directly prove you wrong. You chop off a chimpanzee's finger, it cannot regrow. However, there's videos on YouTube. Yeah, that video proof. I was gonna talk about this in its own video, and I was gonna provide the video as proof. But fuck it, since we're in the live debate, I'll just spoil it and make the video later. But
Okay.
inside the human body, so basically, do you know the difference between a recessive and a dominant gene?
Yeah,
I see you looking at Google. You're about to Google the difference, right?
No, no. Of course not. A recessive gene is less likely to be passed on. A dominant gene, so like a brown eye will overpower a blue gene.
No, that's already wrong. That's okay.
Okay.
It's fine. And again, I'm not
I'm pretty
trying
sure
to be
it's right,
mean.
but
No,
sure.
that's not right at all. A recessive
Okay.
gene is a gene that you have dormant in your body that is not currently active, but can become active either through natural evolution or through an unnatural means. So inside now, actually, let me rephrase that. You were half correct. You weren't completely wrong.
It won't express itself unless you have that gene and then you pass it on. And it's possible that if another person has recessive genes and you have recessive genes,
Reproduction.
it is possible that this will like
Reproduction is one way that can make a recessive gene active. I'm about to get a little disgusting, but for the sake of science, let me thoroughly break down exactly how that happens to reproduction. Okay, so those of y'all with sensitive ears, cover your ears. So when you mix breed, you're mixing the genes, both recessive and dominant, of both people that are or both things that are because animals do this too. This is actually why sheep are so fluffy, because we took the fluffiest sheep, right? The genes that make sheep more fluffy, we observed nature and we made sure the fluffiest sheep continue to reproduce with each other to where that was the dominant gene, because sheep are not naturally that fluffy. If you read documents from 5,000 years ago, you see that the sheep that we have now is completely different than the sheep of archaic times. Same with cows, same with pigs, etc., etc. Now, the reason I bring this up,
too, right?
say that again.
Humans changed too, right? Like, isn't there?
Yes. No. I'm about to break all this down. No. You're right. But hold on, let me finish.
Yeah.
Let me finish.
Yeah,
Now,
sure.
we don't disagree with this point, but
We're both interrupting each other a lot, so
yeah.
I apologize for interrupting you, but I did have like this. I was gonna outline my stuff, you know.
I just wanted to correct you on that because it was already wrong. You're kind of making it sound like that if you're already born, you can't make a recessive gene dominant, and that's not true.
You can pass it on. But a recessive gene will still be a recessive gene.
No, it won't. So I'm about to prove that directly.
But you can phenotypically express it.
Listen. I got an example. Calm down, cowboy. I got an example ready, and there's video proof of what I'm about to say.
Okay, sure.
If you chop off a chimpanzee's fingers, It's not going to regrow. And this is why I laugh when people say monkeys share 99% DNA or whatever bullshit Google says. Chimpanzees don't have reptilian genes in their body. Humans do.
I didn't say that.
You chop off a human being's finger, there's video proof of some doctor science guy. He figured out how to make, because we have the ability to regrow limbs inside of our body. It's just a recessive gene. But some little nerdy scientist guy in 2008, he figured out that if he takes certain bacteria from pigs and mix it together and rubs it on the skin of where the missing limb is, the fingers could actually regrow. Coincidentally enough, one of his friends chopped his finger off by accident while he was working on something. So they tested it out live. And there's a YouTube video proving this directly. His finger regrew over the course of a couple of weeks. That's an example of making the recessive gene dominant. Now, he did it through an unnatural means by taking the bacterias of other animals and kind of I'm not going to say getting lucky, because you really can't get lucky with such a guess, but you see what I'm saying? That's a direct example of a human being turning one of their recessive genes dominant. So reproduction is one way to do it, and this is kind of why I wanted to have this debate.
Connection, right?
Say that again?
Yeah, but it doesn't break the connection that we have with other mammals, right? It just says we have something special in addition to
That's the point I'm trying to make to you. Humans are
we're
special. We're not animals. We're a special, unique being.
a special animal. You don't understand why it's like, I don't think animals are good or bad thing. It's just a description. I don't think animals are like morally virtuous or anything.
Humans aren't morally virtuous either. They just pretend to be. I guarantee you, if I put you, for example, in a situation where you either follow your morals or die, or abandon your morals and live, you're going to abandon your morals to live, even if you don't directly admit so on camera. So,
an animal would, right?
Animals don't have morals. You just said it yourself. Animals don't have morals in the first place. It's actually kind of astonishing, because you basically have to train an animal not to be an animal for them to have any type of moral compass. You got to train a dog not to maul a baby if it's hungry. You got to train. They did a test with lab rats where when you put lab rats in an unnatural situation, if you kill one of the rats, the other rats actually have psychological damage. They'll refuse to eat. They'll starve to death because they're depressed that you just killed their friend. You don't see this in nature, though. Rats eat other rats all the fucking time. And this is why humans... Where am I going with this? This is why humans... This is one of the reasons humans are so unique. We can literally take over another animal and turn them into something unnatural. Animals don't have this ability, but humans do. We control the fates of the animals around us. And again, you have to ask why. Why are we so drastically different from animals if we're the same?
Well, that's my point. It all comes from one thing, right? All of this, like, for science, like all of these ideas, they all come from the fact that we have a very like unique brain. It can be explained, right? Other animals have brains, whereas it's just different.
See,
so, like, you can say like,
it's like you agree with me.
Birds, they can't fly, right?
It's
not being nerdy. I'm just being logical.
It's like you agree with me, but then you disagree with me. Like you acknowledge.
No, I am agreeing with you. You don't see why you don't say animals overall.
Because
all these things together with animals, but we have this
why do you think I brought up genes? Because in order to trigger some of these recessive genes, you first have to understand that you're not an animal, that your purpose is separate. An animal is supposed to serve its natural purpose in the ecosystem, but a human being can decide what its purpose is. If you reduce yourself to the state of, If you reduce yourself to the state of an animal and you just say, I'm just another animal, then you're going to share the same fate that an animal would serve, if that makes sense.
You don't see what that means, that like all of the biomechanical connections are suddenly irrelevant.
But we don't have that many biomechanical connections. Like I just proved with chimpanzees, they don't have the ability to regenerate limbs like a human does.
No. We definitely do. Like, you can just look at the way we breathe upstream. Look, this is like a very similar process that all animals share. Like, we take in oxygen and we release carbon dioxide, water, and heat. Sure, I might have gotten something wrong about the specific elements, but these are things that we can observe that all animals have. In terms of mammals, we can observe a lot of similar musculature. We can observe a lot of like similar skeletons. Like, we develop in unique ways, but the same kinds of bones are like present in many different places. If you want to look at like the closest living ancestors, you could just look at chimpanzees and like the kinds of teeth that they have. They're very similar. Like, these are biomechanical similarities.
So which human broke off from the chimpanzee? Was it the Homo sapien? Was it the Neanderthal? Was it the Homo erectus?
No. You should have done broke off from the chimpanzee, because the chimpanzee and human were never the same animal. We broke off from a common animal, and then that evolved into chimpanzees, and then this one evolved into humans. The reason why chimpanzees didn't have like higher intelligence, probably humans and chimpanzees probably had like the same amount of intelligence starting off, but then certain environmental factors, like the fact that we lived on plains, the kinds of animals that we would fight, these sort of made it essential that humans would like select for intelligence. Or like for chimpanzees, it probably selected more for like an anatomical power. They were like in jungles, so they probably needed more strength to like climb up trees. And when you're selecting for certain things, you can't get every single trait. You have to choose some.
For the chimpanzee, because the chimpanzee and human were never
so for chimpanzees, it probably selected for like more physically powerful and that evolved, like their teeth are much larger than ours. Whereas for humans, it reduced all of that and it gave us intelligence, which turned out to be the best trait. But that was just like coincidentally, well, not coincidentally, it just happened to be that trait got selected for. It was just that powerful. I know I said a lot and I talk fast.
So I'll give you credit. You're the first person I've debated who actually knew the difference between a Homo sapien, Neanderthal. You actually somewhat knew what you were talking about. 99.9% of people that I have this conversation with, they just blindly repeat what Google and Wikipedia says. Oh, we came from monkeys. When it's kind of like when people think that dogs came from wolves when they just had a common ancestor. So I'll give you credit for knowing.
People see that image of the walking guy and they think that that's evolution, but that's not it. It's more of a branch, right? So common animals then split off. Yeah. Sorry, I interrupted you. I'm really sorry.
No. I was just giving you props there. But to refute.
Oh, thanks, man.
To refute what you said. Yes, humans have similarities to all creatures that exist on our natural plane, Earth. We have similarities to trees, we have similarities to serpents, grass, mammals, reptiles, birds, amphibians, the whole 9 yards. Because when the human being came to be, we were designed to be above all these things. That's why we so absolutely dominate.
We weren't designed to. We are, yes, but we were not. It was not like a planned thing.
That depends on. That depends.
It's up to you.
That depends on. Well, it depends on how you look at it, right? If you use your free will to develop into being a track star, then you were designing your body and your energy to specifically have that purpose. So it depends on how you look at it. You know, absolutely nothing in the universe occurs out of random coincidence. You know, it's all energy, and you know, things don't just happen out of random coincidence, is what I'm trying to say. You know, even in the human realm, right? We evolve differently too. Some humans evolve physically. They put all their skill points into physical development. Other humans evolve mentally and put their skill points in intelligence. And some people develop everywhere. I put my skill points in athleticism, strength, physical and mental intelligence. I'm all around it. So, you know, that depends on how you look at it. But as human beings, we at least have that choice. Animals don't.
We do. Individually, of course, we do. But when it comes to like who guides evolution, unless you believe in like creator, which you can, but for me personally, it seems to be that like environment generally changes over time. So things like ice ages, glacial periods, or you know, certain times water becomes more abundant, and species, some of them adapt to it, some die out, and then this changes. And then sometimes we get some very unique things. So for instance, like whales are a very unique type of mammal. Like that's a very unexpected thing that occurred. But there's like advantages to being a whale. But I don't think someone was like, I'm gonna make whale. I don't think a whale decided like, oh, I'm gonna go into the water now. It just happens to be that like evolution kind of guided it to that path. I don't think that it's like a plan, like grand design.
I'm gonna slightly. The truth is in the middle. See, a human being that understands they're not an animal and that they have free will, they can develop any way they want to develop. But most people that have been reduced to the state of an animal, somebody else is designing their development for them. We can prove this right now. What does social media do? Program people how to act, correct? What does medication do? Rewire the genes so that people are reprogrammed on how to act, correct? Some genes even affect a person's ability to reproduce and may affect the offspring, you know, how they come out, right? So I'm not talking gods or deities or any of that bullshit. I'm talking other human beings that understand the game, that understand science, that understand sociology. They're designing how other human beings are. Other human beings that have voluntarily reduced themselves to the state of an animal who want somebody else to control their ecosystem, they 100% are being designed and developed. You, for example, right? What you think right now. Somebody programmed you to think that humans are the same as animals, when 200 years ago, if you said humans and animals were the same, you probably got burned on a stake somewhere because people would have thought you were an insane witch. So,
well, first of all, let's just like the ideas and talk about me. Personally, I disagree. I think that you're making an interesting argument, but do you see why it's more of a moral argument than like an empirical truth argument? You're saying that even if we are animals, we shouldn't think of ourselves as animals.
You just asked the same question that somebody in the chat just asked. What is the point of debate in this? Simple. A lot of you guys are not going to understand this right now. But as long as you can't tell the difference between a human and an animal, you're forever going to be stagnated. There's a whole nother world that you'll never have access to, right? This guy, what's your name, by the way, so I know what to call you, so I don't just keep calling you this guy. Carlos. So Carlos here, he implied earlier that he didn't know that recessive genes can become dominants because, before you reproduce. Because an animal, for the most part,
I think it depends on the gene, for sure.
Because animals, for the most part, whatever they're born with is what they're stuck with, right? So when you think you're the same as an animal, you think that you're just born with whatever and you can't do much to change it. But when you understand the unique position that humans have, the sky is the limit. You know what I'm saying? I was essentially what I'm saying.
We agree on this, man. We agree on this. We're just disagreeing on like the umbrella, right? Because I don't think that any of this makes it so that like all of the biology is just
the thing is, this is a huge.
You can philosophically say we're humans. I would agree with you.
I don't do philosophy. I don't do philosophy.
No, I don't mean philosophy as in like philosophy books. I mean like philosophy as in like you can think of humans as different, and I agree that would be useful. But when we're talking biology, it's very useful to think of ourselves as like animals.
But even that's wrong. Even with biology, we're not similar to we have some similarities, but we're drastically different. than animals.
Sure.
Drastically.
The world is very different.
We
from
can
our-
literally wipe out every animal on the planet. That's how different we are. Except crocodiles.
This is very unique.
Except reptiles, cockroaches. There's a lot of things that exist that are very resistant to chemicals.
Would you say that they're very exceptional animals?
I mean,
right? They're very unique animals.
well,
So
reptiles are
very unique
different.
animals too.
Reptiles are different than mammals because reptiles serve a different purpose in the ecosystem. But reptiles and mammals are separate from humans because they still don't have free will to decide their fates. And this is why people were going to think this is a trivial debate, and like it's one of those things where if you don't even understand basic division, you're not going to see the purpose of learning calculus, right? Because calculus is inconceivable to you because level 50 is inconceivable to somebody stuck at level 5. But in order to get to level 6, you must first understand level 3. You know, and level 3...
And here's the thing though, you're ignoring a lot of the things that we can observe to say that humans are animals. You're basically saying this doesn't matter.
Enlighten me.
Because we shouldn't think of ourselves. Yeah, sure. So, here, for instance, what was I going to say? Wait, what did I say before? I completely forgot. We were saying, you said something. You said enlighten me?
You were making the claim that even though I always tell people to go outside and observe nature, you're making the claim that I don't observe nature, that I don't observe the similarities.
No, you do observe nature.
You're claiming,
and I give you credit for that. You do observe nature, which is my point. It's very weird that you observe nature and then deny a connection. This is what's so strange.
One of my opening points was acknowledging that humans have virtually all the different genes that all the other animals have, which is what makes us unique. This is what keeps us above animals. We have a different natural purpose in the ecosystem. We decide.
Philosophical argument, not an empirical one.
Say that again?
That is a philosophical argument,
it's not philosophical. You right now, you can decide your fate. You can decide your purpose right now.
As an individual, yes, I can.
But an animal cannot.
Right, because they're not that smart.
I actually disagree. I would actually. It's sad to say, but I would actually argue that the average animal is probably far more intelligent than the average human is right now. I mean, you couldn't get a train.
If you say that, then why are you separating them? Like, that's weird.
This is no. If anything, it just further reinforced my points. The modern human has voluntarily reduced themselves to the state of an animal. I did not say they reduced themselves to the state of a smart animal.
Okay. Hold up, wait. Wait. This is weird. This is a really weird thing to say. Could you repeat that? I don't even think that makes sense.
Yeah, mind fuck, right? I did not say that they reduced themselves to the state of a smart animal.
Okay.
Back in the day, you used to be able to line up hundreds of different human beings in nice little fancy uniforms and get them to stand 10 meters in front of each other and kill each other in a nice, neat, orderly stockpile. You couldn't even get trained lab rats to do something so stupid. So make no mistake, I'm not saying that the modern human...
We're not reducing ourselves. We always have, right?
No.
So this can be explained, like, if you look at rats, they also act in very, socially strange ways. Society is a very unique thing.
Come on, man. Let's not act like we don't understand what's going on, man. You could never...
No. Repeat it. I probably understand. I just don't think I heard it right. Repeat it, please.
You can never get rats to line up in a neat, orderly fashion and slaughter each other. That's something only humans.
Probably not.
Yeah, only humans can be reduced to such
things that only certain animals can do that. These are like exceptions that we say.
Oh no.
This is a thing that this animal can do.
Listen to me. Animals can wage war. Don't get it twisted.
Chimpanzees can, yeah.
No. Not just chimpanzees.
Okay.
Hornets can, and ants can as well.
Yeah, sure.
Now, what's the difference, right?
Okay.
Human beings will slaughter each other over crap that doesn't matter. Religion, philosophy, just crap that doesn't matter. Animals only go to war with each other when there's a scarcity of a natural resource. You see the difference? This is what I'm saying, right?
Humans are different, right?
But this is what, humans, the average human is dumber than the average animal. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I'm not saying they got reduced to the state of a smart animal. I'm saying they got reduced to the state of a stupid animal. Now, it's hard to see that.
You're making a moral argument again, right? You're saying that even if we were biologically animals, we shouldn't consider ourselves them because, like, this leads to issues, which I would agree with, right? I'm not saying it's good or bad to be called animals. I'm just saying, are we animals?
Oh, and see, this is the thing, right? And this is why I say a hard no, because we serve a different purpose. Let me put it to you this way, right? You were talking about. I'm going to
technically serves a different purpose.
I'm going to use the example you used earlier. You were talking about instruments, right?
Yeah, sure.
Are trees an instrument? No, correct?
No.
But you can use trees to make an instrument.
Yeah.
You see what I did there? You can use animals to make a human, but humans aren't animals. Kind of like you can use trees to make an instrument, but...
The difference is that animals are not like the place. Oh, sorry. The difference is animals are inherently part of the tree already, in this analogy. Does that make sense?
I get
like
what
you're not using an animal to like create something else. An animal is already a thing that exists, and we're just putting in humans into that group. Like you would say that a tree is like a type of plant, right?
I see what you're trying to say.
Wait, hold on.
Take your time. I'll read some of the comments meanwhile. Oh wow, you guys are typing a lot of comments.
Sure. So, wait. I sorry for breaking the flow. That was actually an interesting conversation. What was that?
Upgrade 101, there's absolutely nothing wrong with conceding when you're wrong. That's actually what helps people grow more intelligent. I would argue in a debate that you shouldn't just stubbornly cling on to something that's false, because that just makes it so that you can never see what is true. So, no, Mr. Upgrade.
Why are you denying what we can see is true?
Oh,
You're denying what we're seeing is true.
No, I wasn't talking to. Relax. I wasn't talking about you. Relax. I was talking about Upgrade 101 in the chat, because he basically said, never concede, be narcissistic, be stubborn, never admit when you're wrong, and that's how you block yourself from learning new information in the first place. I wasn't saying that about you. I was saying that about Upgrade 101, because he's basically saying in a debate, don't ever concede a point. Be narcissistic. Be stubborn. Be virtuous. Fuck that shit, man. You got to admit when you're wrong. That's how you learn. That's how you learn more truth. But sorry, what were you saying? You got your stuff fixed, I'm assuming?
Oh, no. Someone was saying something. I just wanted to show you the fun.
Yeah. I was just reading the comments while you were fixing your...
Yeah, I'll be it. Don't worry about it. It's an interesting conversation. I agree with your position, by the way, at some level. I think that it's reasonable to say that, like, humans are so different that to some degree we can be considered an entirely different thing. But I still think that, like, fundamentally, where we come from, how we look, just like a lot of the reasons that a lot of the things that we're affected by, playing us biomechanically strictly into this, like, realm of what an animal is. And then we do like sort of, I guess you could say, elevate ourselves from that group. But we don't transcend, because we're still bound by like disease. We still have to eat. We still have to reproduce. We still have to drink water.
We still have to obey the natural laws of the universe. We still have to worry about self-preservation, survival. You're correct. Exactly. We all come from the same source.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I mean, you're not like.
I think
Again,
that they're
it
making
doesn't.
a very interesting argument. Reason alone, free will alone, separates us, and I disagree, even though it makes sense. Just because it's like, I think that to say that like that would be true would be to say like a whale is not an animal because mammals can't be underwater. Like that breaks the rule, and I don't think that's true. It's just a very exceptional thing that a whale can do, and I think that the ability to reason is a very exceptional thing that a human animal can do. We're a very unique, a very sophisticated animal. By the way, I don't think animal is like a good or bad thing necessarily. It's just a description. I don't really give a shit about animals like that much, to be honest.
Which is ironic
Not like
because
a pet.
the main reason people even argue this with me is because they got pets. They got a pet dog
I don't
that
give a
they
shit.
want to
really
believe.
don't care.
Yeah,
I eat animals all the time, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
I just think definitionally we are animals. Like it's I don't even want to be an animal. I wish I didn't have to die. I wish I didn't have to eat. I wish I didn't have to sleep. It's like these are things I can't ignore.
If you don't want to die and sleep, why don't you just find a solution to like? See, I'm all about solutions, man. I don't complain. I don't, like.
No, I'm not complaining. I'm just saying these are things that most people, literally everyone, has to do. I guess you could try to find a solution. I'd be interested to see your solution.
I mean, you
really
have
cool. You can share that to me. That'd be
you
great.
have tortoises that are on record living for over 400 years. You have reptiles that are on record living for hundreds of years. We have the same genes in our body that's capable of living for such a long time, but because humans have been brainwashed into thinking you got to die before you're 50, for honor and chivalry, or
Mars 120, I think, is the oldest person.
You said 20?
I think 120 is the oldest person.
Yeah, that's according to Wikipedia, right? I know the page.
I'm not sure.
I know the page.
I could be wrong. I said I think that's the truth. I can't be sure.
Yeah,
someone might have lived 125. Right?
No, I know the Wikipedia page you're referencing. It gets.
I'm not referencing a Wikipedia page. I'm referencing like something some guy told me, and I was like, that sounds interesting. I don't know if it's true or
well,
not.
they were referencing, but that's besides the point. Let me get back to my point.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
We have.
Sorry, are you stable to see my screen?
Say that again.
Are you stable to see my screen?
Yeah. I'm looking at both.
Cool. Sure. Keep going. I'd like to hear your response too. I know I said a lot of stuff. I'm
going to refute all of it. Don't worry, and I'm going to go straight to the source, like I always tell people to do. We're going to observe nature.
Good idea.
Bears.
Yes, does observe nature.
Bears. There's many different animals that have naturally developed now fuck that, humans. When humans go to war, they don't sleep for days on end or they'll fucking die. So humans have in our bodies the genes that allow us to I stay up 30 hours at a time. I work for 12 hours, then I go run 2 miles, then I go to the gym and work out, then I come home and eat. My friends in Virginia,
that's really cool.
They were amazed, right? Because I was awake for 30 hours before I went to go see them. Then I only slept for 1 hour, and then I was awake the rest of the day. And we went to the beach, we went to the gym, we sparred, we got a workout in. They were amazed. Yeah. So then this is what I'm trying to tell people, man. As humans,
really impressive animal, man.
Well, humans have a lot. This is why I get so pissed off, because we have a lot.
It's really hard.
We have a lot of great tools inside our bodies, and people just dismiss all of this to say ridiculous stuff like, oh, we're going to die magically when we turn 120, or we have to sleep, or we have to, because they don't want to properly do the research. And
you don't sleep for 30 days. Do you die?
If you don't sleep for 30 days, do you die?
Yeah, you. As an individual. If you were to not sleep for 30 days, would you be alive?
What would happen if somebody didn't sleep for 30 days? I should actually do an experiment.
My understanding is that 14 days is
I got up to 4.
More or less.
I got up to 4. Before I took my polygraph exam for the police department, I stood up for 4 days straight because I was like, I'm going to war.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I got to pass this polygraph. I'm going to war, so I didn't sleep for 4 days. Now, after the test...
The longest thing I've ever done is 3 days. So I know that I can stay for 3 days. I don't know how long a person theoretically could, but eventually we would die, right?
But see, you have to ask, okay, how do we get those genes to trigger in the first place to where we can stay awake for weeks and months on end? There has to
we're
be.
using our reason to get our source, right?
Well, there has to be a natural purpose, a natural reason for us to do so. If you had to stay awake for 30 days or die, if you wanted to live, you would. And we have documented proof.
Days, do you die?
Say that again?
How about this one? If you don't eat for 100 days, do you die?
I'm glad you asked that question. I got refutes for everything, man, and I got people are always asking me to present sources. I got a source for this one, man.
I'm giving a shit about sources.
But hold on, hold on. I got direct proof for my answer.
Okay.
Okay, so there was actually some fucking madman in India. He didn't eat or drink water for like 30 years, and it was documented. You know, he rarely spoke to anybody. This was an Indian guy. You can look him up. He didn't eat.
Where did you get this source, by the way? I don't give any source. Just tell me more or less where you found it.
Type in Indian guy who does not.
I don't use Google. I don't trust Google. Yeah, tell me.
You can go on YouTube. They interviewed the guy. There's videos. It's documented. This crazy.
It's not even said.
No. Listen, man. He was because nobody believed him.
Okay.
So they actually went and followed this man around for years with the camera, and the fucker never ate or drunk water, and people were like, "What the fuck?" Because I didn't even believe him until I saw this shit. But
if that is true, that's really cool.
Well, hold on. This is why I talk about these things, man. The human body, you people got it twisted, man. Y'all think the human body is some type of fragile, squishy blubber of lard, man. The human body's capable.
It's really cool.
But yeah, like.
Yeah, this is really cool.
Now, I'm not saying that any regular person can go for 30 days without eating and not dying. What I am saying is that both in the modern time and in historical times, there's documented proof of humans that had the will to live. If there was no food around for weeks on end, they would starve for weeks on end until they finally got to a food source. Fucking North Korea, that's a whole starving country of people living decades without having any fucking food. Come on, man. We gotta stop acting like there's not proof for this.
Without eating anything? I don't think so. I think they can go for like 70 days without eating. You have to eat at least a piece of rice, man.
Well, they go longer than that.
Maybe so. Either way, though, you understand that your body is getting degraded.
What astonishes me, not so much is that these people don't eat.
Your body's being eaten alive, right?
Well, hold on, right? That's what Google says. Because what astonishes me... What astonishes me...
myself. When I eat, I get skinnier.
See, he's getting afraid. He doesn't want me to prove this point. He keeps interrupting me, man. But I get it, man.
I apologize. You say. I apologize.
What astonishes me the most about these little North Koreans is that they're still able to reproduce while starving. So that's like proof right there. Because some guy typed in the chat that, oh yeah, if you don't eat food, the human body is going to magically disintegrate and eat itself alive. Just shit, because he's repeating Google. You know, he's never met starving homeless people before. He's never gone outside and interacted with people who haven't eaten for days, right? He's never gone straight to the source and observed nature. So he's got to repeat what Google says. But when you observe nature, there's starving people that are still reproducing. They're still fucking. They still got sperm in their bodies. So, you know, the human body, and then that Indian guy, you know, I think the Indian guy has children. Go ahead.
So, have you ever seen a stray dog? I'm sure you have, right?
Yeah.
Do you think I look really emaciated?
It depends on where the stray dog is. In America, no. A lot of stray dogs are actually fat because Americans don't believe in letting people.
When I see a stray dog, it's very clear that it's like eaten a lot. And when I see like a homeless person who hasn't eaten a lot, they also have the same kind of like biomechanical response to not eating food. Like an emaciated person and an emaciated dog are the same emaciated self because they haven't gotten food. This is like a biological thing. It's not like Google. This is just something you can see. Right? Doesn't that make sense?
I think we should.
And that Indian guy, I'm sure he looked really skinny, right? He probably looked very like you could probably see his ribs.
The Indian? Oh yeah. He looks like he.
He looks like he's in pain, right?
He looks like, well, he's not in pain because he's still.
Oh, okay, sure.
Well, I mean, you don't care when the point's proven wrong, but
I know. Okay, I didn't get your point. Did you say?
I didn't get a chance to say it because before I started speaking, you said I don't care because you don't want to.
No, I didn't say that. Is that what it sounded like? I didn't say that.
That's what it sounded like.
Could you say? I didn't say that. I apologize if that's what you heard. I would never say that. That's really good.
It's all good, but yeah, this little Indian guy, he definitely looks like he doesn't eat food, but he's still fully functioning, man. He still meditates on sharp, pointy things, the whole 9 yards. This is what I'm trying to say, right?
Yeah. It's very impressive. I can't deny that. If that's true, that's really freaking cool.
Yeah, they got a whole documentary about it. Just type in Indian guy that doesn't eat. But
let's check it out after.
This is getting back to the point. This is the whole reason I bring up all of these things. If an animal does not eat, it dies. Because its purpose has already been served. So the only thing left for it to do is just lay down and die somewhere. Humans, because we're different from animals, we can still live without food, without water, without shelter, in harsh conditions. This has been documented and proven over the course of thousands of years. Now, yes, we humans that have been reduced to the state of an animal, they will die. Because they'll say, oh, it's my time, God is calling me, or whatever bullshit they've been trained to believe to justify their deaths. But the strongest humans, they'll say, fuck a goddamn God. Fuck what society is saying. I'm gonna fucking live. I'm gonna find a food source. I don't give a fuck if I gotta go 2 weeks without eating. I'm not dying. That's the difference. Animals can't decide that, but humans can.
I had a very near-death experience once. When I was in Mexico, I was in the middle of a valley, and it was 11 a.m. and I was there until 7 p.m. And it was a 3-mile hike up a hill in the baking sun. And the interesting thing is I actually experienced the opposite of what you're saying. I realized I became acutely aware of my physiology, my bones and my muscles, and everything was in pain. And then I used my rational mind, and it was a combination of both the physical feeling and the mental that allowed me to sort of survive that. So the only way I could really explain that is that we're we're basically the rational animal. We have the animal body, and we have elevated mind. Yeah, that would be my counter to that. I know that's something else. Did I even answer your question? I feel like I got lost.
You were talking about your near-death experience. I don't think I asked you a question.
Oh, okay. Well, why didn't I say that? I feel like I had a reason for that.
My point was
that... I'm just saying impressive stuff people can do, right?
Yeah, because
that's not the most impressive thing. But
there's even
really
people
cool
in the chat because they've never read a history book. They're like, oh, there's no way humans can go for weeks without surviving, without food and water. That's bullshit.
I mean, I hate to do this, and I'm not going to tell you to do this, but if you want to test it, you really could, right?
I test lots of things every day. Don't you worry about that.
What? No, I'm talking about the sleep thing. You could probably go for it. I don't want you to do this because I don't think you'll be okay. So I'm not gonna ask it though.
Don't worry, man. I'm not like these guys commenting, man. I don't get my information from Google. I don't get my information from Wikipedia.
Yeah, I think if you want to get it from the source, you could probably test it with your own body.
I go straight to the source, like this Romer guy, man, repeating what Google says. I go straight to the source. I've got all kinds of crazy.
If you want to look at the source, you can test this.
Don't worry, man. I got all kinds of crazy things I test on a daily basis. With my body and things that are too risky to me, I find a guinea pig. So,
okay, cool.
I actually have a theory.
That's a good way of going about it.
I actually have a theory that humans can survive without oxygen. And when Mr. Israel was done designing, because Israel designs planes, and he eventually wants to move on to designing spaceships. So, and
wait, can I ask you a question about that?
well, then I'm not using me. I'm not using me. I've already found a guinea pig that's
No,
going to
no, no.
help us.
I'm not about Israel. I'm not about this. About Israel. I'm just
Oh,
curious
what's your
about
question?
Yeah. You don't have to. I'm just curious because in your debate with the flat earther, I watched to sort of see your debate style. In that debate, I'm curious. Why do you trust Israel as a source? This is that topic, by the way. This isn't that. I'm just curious.
I think what you're really asking is if he designs a spaceship, why are we going to trust his design and go up into space and discuss this theory?
In that video, you used him as your math source, right?
Israel is a fucking. This is what he does, man. He sits down and does math shit all the time, man. I watched him.
Well, what's the difference between him and like a licensed professional?
When it comes to math?
Well, I'm saying you say never to trust licensed professionals. I'm just curious, what makes Israel different
Israel's
from
not
like another licensed professional?
Israel's not a licensed professional. He doesn't have a
Well,
college
he have
degree.
to be licensed?
No. This is what I'm trying to tell you, people. You don't.
That's interesting. I see it.
You see my point. You see my point now. I'm glad we had this debate, boy. He doesn't even realize it. He doesn't even realize what he just did. He doesn't even realize what he just did, guys. This is why I fucking tell you guys, don't go to certified professionals, just learn the shit yourself. That's exactly what Israel did. He didn't go to fucking college to learn how to design planes. He just started doing the shit himself until he got hired. You feel me?
How do you know that his math is correct?
Say that again?
How do you trust that his math is correct if you can't prove it wrong?
You're talking about with when we told him to find out the equation for the distance?
Yeah.
I'ma just keep it blunt with you, man. I don't need to use his math because I can see the curvature with my own eyes. The reason we broke the math down was because that guy's vision was not strong enough to where he could see the curvature, and he was making the argument that after X amount of meters that whatever, right? So I asked him, okay, what is the minimal number to where you're claiming that it's going to be invisible? Oh, I don't know off the top. So then I got Israel. Okay, Israel, while we're debating this, figure out the math for us. But when I was in Virginia, when I was at Virginia Beach, man, I saw the fucking city on the other side of the ocean that was like 30, 40 miles away. Now, it was curved, though. It was curved, though.
The Earth is round, yeah.
So
I'm not agreeing with the flat earther. I was just curious as to why.
No. I'm glad you asked that question because you proved. I hope the people in the chat just got what happened, right? Israel doesn't have a college degree. Israel doesn't have a certification, but he's so good at what he does, he gets paid to do it anyways.
Cool.
All he did was show up to the board meeting and showed the people his designs, man.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I actually didn't know that. For some reason, I thought you had to have an engineering degree.
That's what Google and Wikipedia tells you. Google and Wikipedia tells you that you need degrees and certifications. And these people, somebody in the chat just commented, you've gone off the deep end, Frizzy, right? Even though,
you can see the point. If you don't need a college degree, I did not know that.
This is what my whole point is, man. Society lies to people and tells them that they need useless pieces of paper or they won't get hired, but the main people getting hired are the people that don't have the useless pieces of paper. That's why we were talking about lifespans, right? Why do you think... Listen, right? Why do you think when a college guy gets out of college and he goes into the real world, why do you think this demographic of people comes out more depressed than anybody else? Because it's like, damn, I just put myself in debt for the rest of my life under the promise that I will be rewarded for it later, but the people getting the fucking rewards are the people that were smart enough not to go and get the degree in the first place. This devastates these people. They get depressed, they stop eating in a negative way though. See, it's different when you go without eating food and you still have the will to live because you're trying to test something or you're trying to get to another food source. That's completely different, and it will affect your body differently if you're just not eating because you want to die. Because we have millions of living organisms inside of our body, and when you tell those organisms to die, they will. This is another difference between a human and an animal, because animals don't understand. They can't conceive what life and death is. So an animal doesn't just live or die because it wants to live or die. An animal follows its natural instinct to survive and dies naturally when its purpose is no longer needed. But you guys that are in the chat that's always talking about certified professionals and shit, thank you, Mr. Carlos, because without even intending to, you just proved what I've been trying to explain to everybody this whole time. You don't need a goddamn piece of paper to go anywhere in life. That's part of the illusion, but I digress, man.
I respect that, and I will concede your point. Do you want to go back to the animals?
Yeah.
Or
I went on a tangent there because I wasn't...
Do you want to ask questions, or should I ask questions? What do you want to do?
So I noticed that you brought up a hold on, let me look at the chat messages real quick because some of them are getting angry at me because I'm not giving them attention or whatever. But
you don't have to worry about the chat if you don't want to. But you can answer them if you want.
I'm gonna just skim through and
yeah, no problem. Take your time now.
If somebody asked a good question,
I set aside the time for today, so.
Nah, Upgrade 101, man. Listen, man, this is what I do, bro. I don't just sit around on the internet reading Google articles like the people that disagree with me do. Me and all of my friends, we go straight to the source. And I respect Carlos here because it sounds like that's exactly what he does. It really seems like our only point of contingency is he just thinks humans are a unique animal and not a separate thing altogether. That seems to be his only disagreement, for real.
I know this got really heated. I respect you a lot. I don't want you to think that I think you're non-scientific. I really respect the way you find your information. We just have a disagreement about this one thing, right? Yeah. Alright. I apologize if I sounded really aggressive earlier. I know I speak really fast. Sometimes I say mean things. I didn't want to make you think I didn't dumb or anything. You're a smart guy. You're actually really smart. So.
No, you're
not.
I
find it weird that we disagreed on this.
You're not the aggressive one. Some of these people in the chat are. One guy got angry that I used the Indian. The thing is, right, you don't even need to use the Indian guy, man. There's documented cases of soldiers going weeks. And this is what pisses me off, man. Crazy, because humans used to be so much stronger physically and mentally, but we live in such easy times now that people think being weak is like the norm for us. When we
I actually have an interesting theory about that.
What was that?
I actually have an interesting theory about that. I think that we've changed. Human society has developed to such a point that we are this basically explains a lot. I think in another one of your debates, I don't remember which one. I think it was the natural law versus science theory. I think it was that debate. You had mentioned that Sweden is a really depressing place to live, right? I think that in general, cities are really depressing because
they're in the middle of the fucking North Pole and shit.
North Pole, plus it's crowded. They have bad food, bad water, and it's all of this stuff affects our physicality, right?
This is what I'm saying, man. There is a civilization in Canada, right? They're so far north, they're so far up north that for decades they had a hard time growing crops. They had a hard time growing food because when it gets to a point where it just gets so cold that nothing grows, okay?
Yeah,
And the humans up there had to learn how to live with a scarcity of food and water, and they were still reproducing. That tribe didn't go extinct.
Oh, yeah.
And they're fucking polar bears, man. They go weeks without food. You know what I'm saying? Because there's not much food up there.
Yeah.
So these people, they say I don't understand evolution. They say I don't understand science. But when you look at evolution and science, the human body is capable of going long periods of time without food and water. You know?
So, do you want to ask questions? Or what do you want to do?
Yeah, so I noticed
You said you had questions for me.
Yeah, I noticed you have your teeth article up there that you've been waiting to present.
Which one? Teeth?
Yeah, your teeth article. You pulled it up, and then
I was mentioning that we have a lot of similar teeth, but I don't think I brought up an article. I don't think I have any source. It's just photos.
yeah. So I mean, it seems like
By the way, I don't know how much you know about the Africanus, what Australopithecus is. Do you know what Australopithecus is?
isn't that the study of like fossils and shit?
No. Australopithecus is theorized to be the first definable step in the. So basically, when humans and chimps split off from the same animal, because what we didn't come from chimps. This is a misconception. When we were able to observe a specific animal, and you can look this up later to find photos of Australopithecus afarensis, and they call this because it's like the South African ape. And this is theorized to be like the first human-like ancestor that is not related to chimpanzees. So it's kind of like the branch, if that makes sense. This is like the first part of it. So when there was a common ancestor, then you have Australopithecus and whatever the chimpanzee version, the first chimpanzee kind of animal was. And the interesting thing is that like we can already observe like how different these teeth are. So we have modern human on the right, and you can see that our teeth are actually very small, right? It's pretty interesting. And something recent that's happened is that because of wisdom teeth being like negative for us, because our jaws are really small, we've actually slowly adapted to losing wisdom teeth, which is really interesting. That's off topic.
Did you know that humans can still eat food without having any teeth at all? After a certain point, your gums start to get strong enough to chew without the teeth being there. That's another one of our recessive genes that can become dominant. But we've been trained to believe that if you lose your teeth, go to doctors and they'll inject more stuff into your bloodstream, which will keep you dependent on them forever when you don't even need to do that. So, people.
I think that's all I wanted. The teeth was just my physical evidence of our connection. That was basically.
And we don't even seem to disagree that all things come from the same source. We just disagree in that
categories.
I think humans are separate from animals in that when you understand a human's natural purpose, we're really incomparable. And I think animals were born for their specific purpose, and then after they fulfill it, they die. So that really seems to be where we disagree.
So you agree with me that biologically humans are animals, though?
Yeah, like I said in the beginning of the debate, humans inside of our bodies, again, why do we have the gene that allows us to regenerate limbs? That's because we have reptile, serpent.
That's cool.
That's what I'm trying to tell you, man. A human body. This is why I make these videos, man. So, because a lot of people don't know this stuff, and I actually was gonna do a video on that specifically, where I showed the proof. But screw it. I'll just spoil it early. So.
Actually, since I can't see your screen, I would like to see the video.
What, you want to see the video early?
No. I'm saying I'd like to see your video later because right now I'm like in between my screen and my. It's hard for me to pay attention to your screen right now.
I'll DM it to you after this debate.
Okay, sure. Sounds good, man. That is interesting. Actually, do you want to ask me your questions, or should I ask my final questions?
Yeah, go ahead and ask.
I think we're kind of getting up on like 2 hours. So that might be a long time to talk, especially for your stream. I don't know how much longer you want to be here.
Yeah, plus they're getting angry that I'm not answering their questions. Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Don't worry about the chat, man. That's another thing, dude. They're their own people, man. We don't.
Yeah, that's true.
So here's my first question: if humans are not animals, what word would you use to categorize the similarities?
I think you answered your own question. We have similarities. That's the word we would use. We're similar.
You wouldn't use animal. You would say similar. Okay.
We're similar because inside of our bodies we have the genes of most other animals. We're similar, but we're not the same.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like how trees are similar to grass, but they're not the same.
Personally, I think we just go back to like the point. You might as well just say animal. Right? You're kind of just sort of redefining the same thing.
It's not really redefining. Somebody in the chat asked. Somebody in the chat asked, "Can humans live for 900 years?" What I want people to understand. I mean, if you find the tree of life, but God hides the tree of life so you don't find it in the first place, right? God placed each cherubims, but I mean, whatever. We're not going to get into that.
Yeah, that's a different
neither of
thing,
us,
right?
follow that crap. But,
another day. Yeah. Does you have any questions for me, by the way?
Oh no, let me answer what you just asked. So,
yeah.
The main reason this is so important to understand that we're different is because the guy in the chat that asked, can humans live to 900 years? Understand something, man. If that's what you desire to do, if you're the type of person that's going to seek so he can find, if you want to live to 900 years, you're first going to have to understand that you're not an animal, because animals die long before that. You're going to have to ascend. You're going to have to ascend far above everybody else who hasn't lived that long, and you're going to have to find out how to live that long, which means not even just animals. You're going to have to ascend above most humans, because you're not the only one that thinks this, right? The 120 thing. The guy that was trying to sell me life insurance, right? It actually says in the contract that if you live past 120 years, they just give you all the money before you even die. No, seriously, I still got the original contract somewhere. I'm not with those people anymore, but so most people, and that Wikipedia page is based off of biblical shit. The Old Testament made a claim that after 124 years, you just magically die and you return to the eternal lake of fire and light. But anyways, so to the person that asked that question, you're probably trolling. Nonetheless, I'm going to give you a truthful, honest answer. If you want to live to 900 or beyond that, you're going to have to ascend not only above animals, you're going to need to ascend above most other humans too. And by the time you reach that age, I would think that you have the right to classify yourself as something else. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Carlos? If you're a being that lives, I think by that point you would have the right to classify yourself as something else. Wouldn't you agree? If you live for 900 years, you're beyond an animal or a human. You're something else.
I mean, if a tree lives for 20,000 years, is it still a tree? I mean, is it still a plant?
The difference is we expect trees to live for a very, but no, this is the
not that long, right?
This is the crazy thing, right? Like this is so insane. This is so insane because
it's exceptional, like crazy exceptional.
But listen to what you don't even realize what you just did, right?
Okay.
There's trees that are living longer than people. Are you shitting me? Are you shitting me, bro?
Yeah, not 200,000 years.
But listen, right? Listen. But listen, man. This is what I'm trying to say, man.
Yeah, sure.
Doesn't this sound insane that people won't even live longer than a fucking tree? People have gotten so fucking conditioned into just dying while they're young that they think living longer than a tree isn't even possible. It's insane.
People back then died younger, right? Like we lived longer than people did 100 years ago.
We live. Well, that's not true though, because
People used to die.
listen
I
to
think
me.
there's a saying like
Listen to me.
there's a saying
Listen
that,
to
like,
me. Listen
he was
to
like
me.
the
Listen to
okay,
me
yeah.
very carefully, right?
Okay,
I
sure.
can write a book right now of over 2,000 people from 200 CE that lived longer than what the current life expectancy is. 200 people from 1,800 years ago that have been verified who lived, 90, 100, 120 years old, way longer than people are living right now. And I'm not talking a small sample size. I'm not talking one or two people. I used to be a major history nerd and history buff. I can make a book right now where I write down the names and I write down where they were at and the verifying documents over 2,000 people from 200 CE that lived longer than the life expectancy of modern times, which is 74, is the current life expectancy. So we're told.
How do you prove that those things happened, though? Like, because someone wrote it down, so we prove it, right? Like, people have written down a lot of stuff that's fake.
This is what I'm trying to tell you, right? That wasn't an exception. People living above 70 back then was the norm. But we're lied to and told that was an exception because we're told we're living longer when the opposite is true. We're told that they're making our lifespans longer when the opposite is true.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. For the sake of argument,
And this is why, like, and when you realize that, you then have to ask why. Okay, why did humans start dying in their 70s, in their 60s, in their 50s? You even admitted that it sounds insane that people aren't even living as long as trees. That tells you something.
On the way, given the science we have. Yeah, it is pretty weird.
And that's the mistake that I said 2,000 Morning Raptor. I didn't say 200. I said 2,000.
So hold on, I will be right back. Sorry to interrupt the flow.
No, take your time, man.
I'll be back in like 2 minutes. Just
Yeah, take your time.
I gotta get something.
Take your time.
You can read the chat in the meantime.
Yeah. It's not that he doesn't have any frame upgrade 101. A lot of people underestimate how much knowledge I have. Because again, I'm not sitting around reading Google and Wikipedia. Everything I've talked about, I've went straight to the source and verified. Okay? I've met people that are 60 years old that you would think are in high school. Okay? I've met people that, are older than your grandparents who fucking don't look a day over 20. You know what I'm saying? I've met people that understand what the aging process is and how to. I got hit on by some college chicks yesterday, actually. I was in Insomnia Cookie trying to get my cookies, and one of the college chicks, who was no older than 20, she's like, "Hey, did you go here?" And I'm like, "Nah, I'm picking up some food." And she's like, "What do you do?" I'm like, "I'm an Uber driver." So this is the point I'm trying to make to you guys, man. You guys have got to stop being naive. You guys have got to realize the type of world that we live in, man. The people that rule over you, they don't want you to live as long as they live. They want you to live as long as an animal so that you die after your purpose has been served. That's why they're reducing you to the state of an animal. But I've met people 60, 70 years old that look like they're 20. If they shaved their facial hair, you could put them in high school and nobody would ever.
And also diet, right? Has a lot to do with that.
Say that again?
I think diet has a lot to do with that, right? Like the kinds of foods you eat. I think in general, like vegetables tend to be like really good for your skin. I'm not actually sure about that.
This is how I'm gonna answer that question.
Hmm?
Nobody even knows, like, this is how ridiculous it's gotten, right?
Okay.
People don't even know what causes the human body to age in the first place. So it's basically the blind leading the blind. It's basically people coming up with all kinds of theories. Oh, it must be diet. Oh, it must be medicine. One guy typed in the comments that soldiers only go so long without food because they're on drugs. The Roman Empire didn't have any fucking drugs for their soldiers? Are you shitting me? Come on, man. So
Or is really
this is the point I'm trying to make here, right?
Yeah.
If you chop your arm off and it doesn't grow back and you put a band-aid over it, that'll help stop the bleeding, right? But the best solution
but I guess it depends on the band-aid, sure.
But the best solution,
pretty big band-aid though.
But the best solution is to not lose your arm in the first place, correct? So eating certain foods, yeah, it can help make it look like that you're not aging, but the better solution will be to find out how to prevent that in the first place, right? And we have genes in the human body that can stop that. That's why certain people that got this gene triggered by accident is usually categorized as a disease, right? People that look like they're 13 forever. Or people that look like they're 80 forever, right? It works both ways. You got 13-year-old kids that look old as shit because their recessive gene is dominant, but in a negative way. And then you got people that are 60 that look like they're 13 because of the opposite reason. Now, what scientists are trying to do is they're trying to figure out a way to control this gene with our free will. And that's the mistake that scientists make. They think science is the secret. They think chemicals is the secret. They think, what's that shit called? Genetic engineering is the secret, right?
Oh, sure.
You know, and what it is, man, people got to go back to the origin and the roots. They got to learn what causes the human body to age in the first place. And if people have been paying attention to this conversation, I pretty much highlighted it. And I got a whole video specifically talking about it. Inside our bodies are millions of living organisms. If you want to die, you will. If you want to age to death, you will. You want to die to be with your God, guess what? Every cell in your body is going to give you what you want. You're going to start aging. You're going to start growing slow. You're going to start growing obese. You're going to start losing your muscles. Your body is going to give you exactly what you want to give it, what you want it to give you. And nobody wants to admit that our free will controls all of this, man.
Free will is powerful, man. So, do you want me to ask you another question, or do you want to ask more?
I have a statement. It's not really much of a question because the flat earther guy was also intelligent, so I'm not including him when I say what I'm about to say. But you seem like a very intelligent guy. Unlike my other debate opponents, you actually came prepared, and it seems like you understand exactly what I'm saying. What I would say to you is, man, because I don't know what your goals are, man. I don't know if you want to live a long time. I don't know what your goals are. But what I would suggest that you do is you more carefully analyze the why. If humans and animals are different, why? Analyze that. You can answer, but I would suggest after this debate you really think about this, because guys, man, I know I talk a lot of shit. I'm not your enemy. I'm not saying any of this to piss people off any more than need be, but you guys have got to be honest about the type of world we live in, man. These people, these people are not. They'll say they're here to help you. They'll give you medicine. They'll give you whatever, and they'll tell you that it's for your benefits. But I would advise all of you to really study the chemical compounds of the shit that you're putting in your body so that you can learn its true effect, man. They don't want you to understand what you are, a human being. They want you to believe that you're an animal. They want you to reduce yourself to the state of an animal so that you don't understand all the wonderful physical gifts your body has that animals don't.
I guess if I have to say like the final thing, my next question is kind of a. I'm not gonna ask it. I don't think just because it's like too debatey. Like I think we're already kind of wrapping up, so I'd like to end. Um, Personally, I don't think being considered an animal is like a good or a bad thing. It's just is, right? We can be an exceptionally awesome animal and still have like physical characteristics of or similarities to other animals. And that's kind of my, if I have to wrap it up, it's like you can be an exceptional
Why
person.
do you think I'm so focused on getting people to acknowledge the difference? Because
I think
what you think affects everything. The energy that you put out is what your body responds to. So
Sure.
you may not think that it has a significant effect, but when you tell your body that it's an animal, it reacts accordingly. I know it sounds insane, it sounds ridiculous, but even little details like that we would consider minute make a huge difference. I was in the gym yesterday, man, and
I don't disagree, by the way.
I was taking it light. Right, I'm warming up, I'm squatting. I'm like, shit, I feel like crap. Then I stop myself, right? I stop myself.
Okay.
I'm like, fuck that. Immediately I put the weight right back on, boom, 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 as if I wasn't tired. Me even considering that I didn't even feel like working out, it affected my whole body. But the second I said, fuck that shit, we're doing this, suddenly I got all my energy back. It happens that fast. Despite what you've been trained to believe, evolution doesn't take millions of years. See what I'm saying? It actually happens very quickly and rapidly. But we've been lied to and told that, oh, you got to reproduce for 30 generations for one gene to be No, that's not true. At least for humans. Animals, a little bit different.
All right. Well, hey, I think we've reached some kind of common ground. I think this is pretty productive. Fine. Any final things you want to say?
No, yeah, this was a very productive discussion. And yeah, we really don't even disagree. It's just technicalities, I think.
Sure, it's definitions. Because we both agree that like a human is a very exceptional thing that can like push the limits of what any other animal can do. We both agree with that. We're just concerned about
This is probably going to be my most insane claim, but I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I don't think humans have limits. Just okay. think about the shit we've accomplished in the last 200 years.
You know what? You're right. We are exceptional. I agree with it. We don't. If we, we already made like semi-sentient life, right? With like
AIs, robots.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of
that. Video games.
Make it.
They got this shit called MMOs. Dude, the fucking it's crazy, man.
It's funny you should mention MMOs because the reason I know you was because you used to play
MMOs, yeah.
In Toontown and Pirate 101. I never played Pirate 101. I was more of a like.
Don't. It's horrible. don't ever play Pirate.
Toontown was pretty bad too.
Yeah, Toontown. I still to this day I still get shit about the game. But man.
Dude, it's like after playing great games, going back to Toontown is like I remember I used to. It made like Rewritten or something. I remember I played like Toontown and I was like, what the hell? Actually, back when I was like, I went back to that game like 5 years after it launched, and I was like, oh my god, I used to like this game. That's crazy. That's it's weird.
But yeah, man, we should definitely have another conversation. It doesn't need to be a live debate, but yeah, this has been fun. So
If you want to talk, let me know. Just know that I'm not gonna be as prepared. I brought up a lot. I spent a while like thinking about this stuff, so
and I appreciate it. You actually came armed. I appreciate that. My 4 out of my last 5 opponents, they showed up with whatever, and it was just bad. So thanks for coming armed. Anybody reading the chat that wants to debate me in the future, do what this guy did and come armed, please. I don't like beating up unarmed people. You know, it's no fun.
No, it's not. It's much more fun to have like an actual, someone who actually really is thinking about stuff, right?
Exactly.
So, let me know if you ever want to talk. Yeah, have a good day, man.
You too. Peace. Alright, now let me turn... I'm gonna try to fucking add my webcam again as I address some of the comments in the chat. Please don't lag on me, XSplit. No, that guy was pretty cool. Alright, so people are getting angry at me for not reading the chat. Let's go ahead and read the fucking chat now. God damn, you guys have been typing a lot. Alright. Just add my Discord, man. Just add my Discord. You want to talk to me? Discord is the best place to speak to me. I barely check my other social media. So a chick DM'd me on Instagram and asked if I was a catfish account. Because people don't be believing that's me in my pictures. But nah, I barely check Instagram. Hit me up on Discord if you want to have a conversation or if you want to have a live debate. It's just underscore politically incorrect. What's up, Dynamo? We didn't even disagree, Upgrade. That's the funny thing, man. No, it's not the camera, it's XSplit. It's for whatever reason my XSplit is not cooperating with me today. It's cool. I'll just turn my camera off for the time being. Fuck it. Since it's laggy. And yeah, I'll just keep my Discord up. So anyways, let's read some of these comments. All I'm trying to get you guys to understand, man. I know some of you guys come from Toontown. I think I've gotten rid of most of the Toontown people by now, but I know a lot of you guys come from those old video games that I used to play, man. And I know a lot of you guys have been trained since birth to believe that the people that you trust the most, the people that you've been trained to believe to trust the most, you know, your parents, your churches, your doctors, your scientists, etc., etc. You know, you guys have got to understand, man, society doesn't want you to succeed. Society doesn't want you to understand what's actually going on. They pretend like they're telling you the truth. They pretend like they're teaching you enlightenment. They pretend like they're telling you how to live longer, how to obtain more knowledge, when they're actually doing the opposite. The main reason I got so many videos telling people not to blindly trust certified professionals for knowledge is twofold. They can either lie to you and or simply be incompetent. But when you obtain the knowledge yourself, you begin to see that we were born with many great physical gifts as humans, and people were just voluntarily squandering it and throwing it away, man. This is what I'm saying, Mr. AI. This guy gets it, man. Like, our ancestors didn't have any of this fucking medicine, yet they're living longer than these depressed little college kids that graduate and figure out it's all a lie. You know? That actually happened to one of our closest friends, Glenn, you know? We warned him, because let me give you guys a point of comparison, man. Israel designs planes, he never went to college. He went straight to the source, he went straight to nature, and he learned how to design planes on his own. Our other friend Glenn, he did the opposite. He went to college for 4 years, and he's behind everybody in the friends group. So much now that, you know, he may not be around for much longer. Exactly, AI. The people that know what the fuck they're talking about, they don't get any funding. Because, you know, they're not playing politics. You know, they're not following the grain, so they don't get any funding. So, I mean, what do you want to debate, Mr. AI? I mean, I'll debate anybody, but, you know, what is it that you want to debate? What's this guy talking about recruiting? What are y'all recruiting, man? I don't get it. Yeah, we didn't disagree. It's just that but see, you guys gotta understand, man. It's not the major things that cause people to fail. It's not one big mistake that causes people to fail. It's consistent, small, tiny failures in your everyday life that add up into something big. So the animal humans thing it seems trivial, but when you get to a certain level and you understand why they're spending so much time, money, and resources to get people into believing that they're animals, when you see what's really going on, it starts to make a lot more sense. It sounds like he just wants to talk on Discord, man. Man, it doesn't even sound like he wants to debate. It just sounds like he wants to talk. Do you think aliens exist? I mean, I'm going to answer the question this way, right? The observable universe is over 8 billion light years in diameter, okay? You think that a universe that is at bare minimal 8 billion light years in diameter, that's not even talking circumference, you think across 8 billion light years, there's not other life forms besides just planet Earth? Come on, man. I think it's mathematically improbable that we're the only life force in the universe. So, that's how I'm going to answer that question. What, do you think the Earth is flat? Oh, man. I don't just sit around reading nonsense, man. Like, every topic that I talk about, I thoroughly make sure I know what I'm talking about. I don't speak about things I don't understand. So, yeah, that's the username, man. The P is uppercase, though. The P and I are uppercase. But yeah, to my surprise, it doesn't even seem like people in the chat are disagreeing. I was expecting anarchy in the chat with this live debate. Yeah, the Romans had opium, but as far as having drugs to go weeks on end without eating, man, they didn't use drugs for that. I mean, opium consumes calories in your body to even function in the first place. But how long you can go without eating before you physically begin to get damaged, that depends entirely on the individual human. Somebody that has weak energy, that has weak free will, they can eat all the food in the world and they'll still come out fucked up. You know what I'm saying? You got people that live in third world countries that don't have nearly as many things that Americans have, and they're way healthier than any American. You know, even though they have access to limited food and water and shit. But yeah, it seems like you guys don't really have any disagreements or questions to ask. So yeah, I'll catch you later, Mr. AI, and I'll see the rest of you the next time I make a video. Catch y'all later.